Hi, this is Diane Morton-Gattullo, and welcome to another episode of Warehouse 34 over here at CTV. I have a very special guest. All of my shows have very special guests, and there's a lot of meaning behind everybody who I invite on to have a conversation with me and share with you, because it's all something, they're all related to something I feel very passionately about. So whether it's music or the hospitality industry, food and beverage, today we're going to segue just a little bit as the season of the holidays starts to begin. I mean, we kind of bypass Thanksgiving, everything is Christmas in the stores. I brought out my new prop, which is my snow globe of New York City, to me, the greatest city in the world. I could never leave the city. But there are some people who live in New York City and the boroughs who can't do a lot of the things and enjoy a lot of the things that I do, being a New Yorker. They go hungry. And it is strange to say that in America, in New York, in the boroughs, that somebody could be hungry and not be able to take care of themselves. But thank goodness there are wonderful organizations, and one in particular in Staten Island is very, very unique, and it's Meals on Wheels. So today I have Joe Tornello from Meals on Wheels joining us, and he's going to talk about how important it is that everybody look beyond what they're going to give someone else for Christmas or what they're going to put out at their table for 10 people that could feed 2,000 people, and think about the people who can't and don't have that opportunity and that could use a little extra help. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this program. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We have a great team here at CTV, and we're all really excited that you're here. One of the members of the team, one of the dear family friends, Joe Bazzina, his wife, every week volunteers at a food bank at the JCC. So we're really all about community involvement and giving back. And the Meals on Wheels organization in Staten Island is very, very unique. I hope that you can share with everybody what Meals on Wheels is, just in case they don't know about it, and all of the beautiful work that you guys do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about Meals on Wheels of Staten Island. Actually, this is a significant year for us. This is our 50th anniversary. We had a board of directors back in 1972 that decided that it was important to deliver meals to older adults living actually back then at the Cassidy Lafayette houses on the North Shore. And it started from there. Those beginning months, they talked about having enough funding, donated funding, to last until the fall. Actually, now it's 50 years later, and we've grown over the years. We've gotten funding in order to enable us to grow with our population in need in the borough. It was a very foresighted board actually, as well back then, who made it part of our articles of incorporation to provide 2 meals a day, and to also provide meals responsive to people's individual dietary needs.
But let me stop you for a second. No other borough provides 2 meals a day, right?
Well, you know, it all originates with the Federal Older Americans Act of 1964. So sometimes I'll say, God bless Lyndon Johnson that year. The Older Americans Act authorized home-delivered meals in 1972, the same year that we opened, as well as congregate meals, which are senior centers, meals for older adults over age 60. The federal standard is 1 standard meal a day, and that's what's done. And you can go to any county in the country. You should be able to find a home-delivered meals program. We're different in that from the beginning, our board of directors said, no, we do 2 meals a day. We are unique in the city of the contracts throughout the 5 boroughs. There are some, having gone to a New York State Adult Meals on Wheels conference a few years ago, found that there's a program similar to us upstate in Buffalo and Rochester. So, nice. And these are programs that choose to do something beyond what's required. And you know, we're blessed that we do that. We're committed to maintain that. The other thing that our board committed way back then was to not have a waiting list. And we will not have a waiting list. We serve every referral that we receive, every person who's in need of Meals on Wheels. Basically, our standard is over age 60 and unable to access healthy nutrition independently, meaning they can't shop for themselves, individuals who can't cook for themselves, who need to have food delivered to them so that they can have adequate nutrition. So sometimes that commitment gets to be a financial strain because we go beyond our funding that I just mentioned. That federal funding goes through the state and the city Department for the Aging, funds the meals that we're contracted to provide. But every year we go beyond that. We go beyond what our funding is. And we are dealing with that again this year. And we'll meet that challenge, certainly. And it's our fundraising that helps us to do that. And we also appeal with the Department for the Aging. Could you fund some more of our meals? Sometimes contracts in the other boroughs may be underserving their contracts, and so those meals will be shifted over to us. But that commitment's important to us.
That's really amazing.
It's not just the meal also. You know, for example, we have people who with kidney disease who have a renal diet. What's underappreciated or under-recognized is dental challenges in aging. The number of people that we serve that need a pureed diet or a chopped diet. All of our meals meet the ADA, Diabetic Association, in terms of sugar, and every meal is low salt, low sodium, low fat, I should say. So we're delivering healthy nutrition. Every meal has to be approved by a city nutritionist to meet that full 1/3 recommended dietary requirement. I could talk on and on about this.
How many meals roughly a day do you guys serve?
Well, we're serving right now a bit over 1,200 people, and 2 meals a day. There's 2,400 meals leaving our kitchen every day.
So you're probably the biggest caterer on Staten Island.
Perhaps, I would think so. And I love to say that all this activity is going on in our kitchen. The chef comes in at 4 in the morning. The cooking staff are in at 5. Our staff drivers come in at 8 and prepare all this meal, get it out the doors. Volunteers come and pick up their meals. And if you come back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's all been cleaned up. You think nothing happened there.
Wow.
So great staff. I can't say enough about our staff in the kitchen.
Who's the executive chef?
Gerard O'Leary has been with us for several years now. Historically, Nick Lettieri was our chef from when we opened this kitchen. I mean, part of our history was we were a pilot program out of Seaview Nursing Home back in 1972. And so that gave us, meals were prepared there. Volunteers went to Seaview to pick up food, deliver them to on the island. Within the first year or so, we added in the old Rich Memorial Hospital on the South Shore, Doctors Hospital, Staten Island Hospital, Bailey Seton Hospital. So all of our meals were being prepared in those medical settings, those nursing home settings, which actually gave us a start where we were able to respond to people's dietary requirements based on diagnosis, medical needs. So it was not just sending a meal out, which is the standard. No, we sent out the right nutrition because it's important to send out food, but it's got to be the right nutrition.
Something they can actually eat.
Something they can eat and will be healthy nutrition.
And do no harm.
And do no harm. There was one point some years ago when the Department for the Aging said they had a new computer program for our chef to use in order to create his menu cycle, 6 weeks menu cycle. But it was a standard meal program. And we said, well, we have variations of this because of people with different diagnoses. And initially they were saying, well, maybe you can't do all those meals. And we said, no, we're committed to do those meals. We're going to do that. And they actually permitted us to go on with that. They were going to create another program so that the other boroughs could also do special diets. So it's important to be able to respond. So because we said, what would the alternative be? Some people would say, well, I need the food. Send it to me anyway. In spite of my diagnosis, I need food. Or some people would say, well, I can't accept the food. I need food, but I can't accept meals that are not going to fit with my diet. They may not do well for me. So we're proud of that, to be able to deliver the right healthy nutrition to people. And healthy nutrition keeps people healthier. Whenever I talk about that, the importance of healthy nutrition, I always add the equal importance of that daily delivery.
Social interaction.
Social isolation, social interaction. It's subtle, but for many of our recipients, meal recipients, they know that somebody sees me every day, somebody cares about me every day, and if anything happens, I'm not alone in that respect. That may be the only person I see for 10 minutes every morning when they deliver the food, but somebody knows me and knows where I am. And if anything is different or changed,
If I don't answer the door.
Don't answer the door automatically triggers a process for us, because the deliverer calls the office calls the phone number. I love it when I'm sitting at my desk and I can hear one of our staff on the phone saying, "Mrs. Smith, open your door." Person's hard of hearing, you smile, it's wonderful. But sometimes nobody answers the phone. Yeah. So we call the emergency contact. It could be an adult daughter. Good percentage of the time that daughter or son apologizes. "I'm sorry, I forgot to cancel. Mom's with me today. She has a medical appointment this morning. I should have canceled yesterday. I'm sorry." That happens as well. But sometimes that emergency contact says, "No, Mom should have answered the door. I got to go there right now. There should be no reason why."
Wow.
Sometimes our deliverer, who knows their recipient, sees them all the time, notices that the person looks different. Maybe comes to the door usually dressed and alert, and one morning comes to the door maybe not dressed, maybe seemingly disoriented. That gets reported in. "Mrs. Smith did not look good this morning. Let's follow up." We'll call the caregiver. One of our staff nurses will be informed. Another way we're unique is we have two wonderful staff nurses on staff.
Wow.
Who their role, I'm sorry if I'm going on all over the place.
No.
Okay.
We were just planning our Thanksgiving meal. And as you know my husband.
Yeah.
So he does so much in the community and with your organization and the Food and Beverage Association. And as we were talking about Thanksgiving, it dawned on me about how impactful Meals on Wheels is for people, especially, every day, but especially during the holidays. And that's why I wanted you to join us. So please feel free. Well, just go to town.
Let me pick up on that piece then, and mentioning our nurses as well. Their role also. We don't provide medical care. We're not a medical program, right. But their initial assessment does help determine if the person has any special dietary requirements, or what medications are you taking? When was the last time you saw your physician? How often are you going for checkups? Did you get a vaccine shot or a flu shot? They'll pick up on all these things to make sure that the person is well and taking care of things that are necessary. But they also have another role, which speaking of the holidays, that we're in. Oh, by the way, I should throw in we do partner with the College of Staten Island, wonderful nursing program there.
Oh, great.
These are registered nurses who are working on their bachelor's degree, and every semester we get nurses who work with our nurses, and they help with doing those assessments. And so these are registered nurses. These are licensed registered nurses, but the field is encouraging nurses to get bachelor's degrees. So they're at CSI working on their bachelor's degrees, and we'll have 10 or 12 of them in once a week, and they get assigned of who they're going to call and follow up with. Anyway, the thing that our nurses are doing right now are identifying our recipients who are alone.
Right.
Can you imagine doing an intake with somebody who's 87 or 85? Our average age is 84, so 87, lives alone, and they're asking for, well, who is your emergency contact if something is wrong? And the person said, well, maybe my neighbor. They had the isolation, the sad isolation, and they see it. And I'll occasionally ask the nurses, are you still? Yes, we still see these intakes where a person cannot identify an emergency contact. Our nurses also identify, now for Thanksgiving coming up, people who will be, our recipients who will be alone on Thanksgiving Day. It's been over 20 years now. The South Shore Kiwanis delivers Thanksgiving morning meals. Mm-hmm. We provide the turkeys. Tommy Byer at Byers Market with Kiwanians. They put together, right now we're up to 120 people. By the time we get to Thanksgiving, the number will be higher than that, who are going to get a visit on Thanksgiving morning, delivering a Thanksgiving dinner. Delivers, these are volunteers. These are wonderful Kiwanians with their families. Can you imagine bringing your children out on Thanksgiving morning and bringing food to somebody who's going to be alone that day and spending a little time? We do that again on Christmas morning and at Easter. So it does address that issue of social isolation. That daily visit does address that every day, that people just feel I'm not alone. We have friendly callers, wonderful volunteer who calls our recipients just to have conversation with them, to ask about how they're enjoying the food, what they don't like, what they like. There are some people, we're required to make that call to all of our recipients every year, but she's acquired a list of people who want to call every week, want to receive a regular call, phone call, somebody to talk to. We want to elaborate on that even further, just to make sure people have that very, very important social contact. We spend our lives in social interaction, from kindergartners and pre-Ks, which you're probably familiar with, to our older years. And why so many in their older years are denied that access to social interaction, being with other people, so important to us.
And with the pandemic.
Well,
I mean, that was just a whole nother...
That's been a whole nother experience for us. Again, when we talk about it, we served throughout the whole 2.5 years. We didn't stop. The very beginning of the pandemic, we were limited. We really had to see what the impact was going to be. We were sending out food once a week as low, but we got out of that pretty quickly. The kitchen staff, our kitchen aides, our chef, our cooks have been in every day cooking, preparing food. Our staff drivers have been wonderful. We have 25 delivery vehicles, and staff drivers, many of whom are retired seniors themselves, have been working, delivering. They've been our frontline workers and volunteers. We have over 200 volunteers helping us on 48 daily volunteer routes. So
48
48.
daily?
And every route, the way it works, and this is a plug for anybody watching this, if you want to be a volunteer with us, a volunteer commits 1 day a week. I always use my brother as an example. So my brother is retired. He's in his middle 70s. And since he retired, he delivers every Friday morning. And he comes in, and in his neighborhood in Westerly, he'll pick up his 11 meals, 10 meals, depending on who's on or off that day. And he's done in an hour. He'll play golf on Monday or Tuesday and Thursday. He'll go to Atlantic City, but Friday mornings he's there to pick up his meals to deliver. If you had to have a volunteer delivering 5 days a week, it's not volunteering anymore. Now it's like a job. So
Sure.
It works. Our Vice President, Roseanne Holt, who is absolute gold at Meals on Wheels, she oversees all of our volunteer corps, and of course, most of whom are retired older adults, and they're wonderful. I sometimes I refer to my argument with the volunteers. This is a typical argument. I'll say to a volunteer, "Thank you so much for what you do and helping deliver meals." And they'll say, "No, I thank you more for letting me do this." And I say, "No, I thank you more." And it happens a lot. I'm not exaggerating when I say, if you thank a volunteer, December 8th, every year we do a dinner for our volunteers. These last couple of years with COVID, we didn't have it at Staten. So we're back to the Staten in December, inviting our volunteers to come in. We pay for a dinner for them, have an evening with them, recognize those who've accomplished so many hours of service over the years, and thank them. We thank them.
That's remarkable.
They're wonderful. I love volunteers. And they care about, of course, that one-to-one. And for many of them, it's a peer thing. You know, we can have a volunteer in their late 70s, my brother, delivering food to somebody who's 69,
It's going to kill you
68.
for saying his age.
There are vets. We do a lot. We're blessed by vets, not only whom we serve, deliver to, but our volunteers who are vets of my brother, Vietnam vet, Korean War vets, getting older now, Desert Storm, and more recent vets, volunteers with us in delivering.
Well, you never really think you're going to get old. I mean, for me, I'm perpetually Peter Pan. I'm 25 in my head. The thought that I'm 58, I really don't understand how this happened. So I can imagine how I'm going to feel in 20 years from now, where I'm going to say, how did this happen? You know, I mean, part of me staying young is being very active and involved. So the people who are volunteering for Meals on Wheels, I think it's a multifold experience. You know, one, you really feel good about where you are, that I, at this point in my life and this age, can volunteer to help somebody else, especially my contemporaries and peers, because no one ever thinks of themselves as old. No one says when they wake up, I'm that old person. No, inside you're still a kid.
You're very right, very true. And you're right, and we consider ourselves, certainly I think we're the largest provider of volunteer activity for older adults. The other wonderful partnerships we had, by the way, it got knocked down a bit, it got decreased a bit because of COVID.
Right.
We partnered with 20 agencies on Staten Island providing services, day hab programs for people with special needs, developmental disability. And those programs are required to provide meaningful activity for their consumers, their clients, in their day hab programs. And they were delivering a significant number of our volunteer routes. COVID happened, they weren't able to come into their programs to volunteer, to do that, to be part of DAHAB. And their staffing was impacted. A lot of these programs had staffing impact. So they're coming back. I think we're up to 10 programs that have come back. We want to see that grow back again. We're there, and they're getting meaningful activity. We're getting very meaningful service. They cover many of our volunteer routes. And it's wonderful because so much value comes on both sides, and not a penny is passed between us. It's value without any money being exchanged.
Amazing,
We love and those consumers, by the way, also know that they are not just the recipients of somebody having to take care of my needs, but I'm caring for other people. You know, they're bringing food to seniors, and another nice outcome of that relationship. And together with our retired seniors, really is representative of our volunteer services. Of our 25 vehicles, by the way, 2 vehicles go out to the South Shore. We're in Port Richmond, on Port Richmond Avenue. Two of our trucks load up with over 240 meals out to the South Shore, where volunteers deliver from Tottenville to Great Kills. And it wouldn't make sense to have a Tottenville volunteer drive up to Port Richmond, pick up 10 meals, and go back out to Tottenville.
Right.
These hotshot trucks, we call them.
I've seen them, yeah.
Refrigeration and oven. Not a cooking oven, but maintaining 180-degree temperature. So the temperatures are preserved. Another truck goes to a Mid-Island location to meet volunteers. 3 trucks go to our kosher subcontractor, kosher halal subcontractor.
I was going to ask you about that. That was on my list.
Ben Zahavi's based out of the JCC on Anna Road. Ben's doing over 90 meals now a day. So we have 3 trucks doing routes on the island. So they pick up food from him and do their routes. So of our 25 trucks, 6 are out there bringing food to people, to volunteers or to special programs. And of course, volunteers are at those other locations as well.
So you provide kosher meals and halal meals?
Yeah, actually, the Department for the Aging required us also to get certified. So Ben Zahavi went out and worked with a imam and got certified for halal. So he does both. He satisfies requirements for both meals. And some of the other requirements that have emerged too from the Department for the Aging, for example, is encouraging our chef to do more plant-based protein. You know, that's become something we've been very mindful of. So today was I saw it. I go down to the kitchen every morning to see what's happening.
That's a hard one for me. I don't know if I'm there yet.
Well, this was a omelet frittata with some vegetable in there, nice fluffy omelet.
I could do that. I could do.
So he is introducing more plant-based proteins, some more like Asian or Latin or Hispanic type things.
Different ethnic foods that people would recognize.
Right.
Yeah.
We, of course, we offer the choice between a hot meal, a cold meal, a frozen meal, as well as now fresh chilled. We had to obtain.
Wow.
Department for the Aging asked us to, all the programs, obtain this device that basically you feed a sealed meal, and it sucks out all the air and infuses nitrogen, whatever. It makes it fresh chilled, so it's not frozen, but it has a longer shelf life. And so some of our recipients who get frozen meals will opt for that option. So those varieties of meals are in place. Of our census, over a third of our recipients receive meals for weekends as well. Not everybody needs weekend. They have some support on the weekend.
Right.
So we send out weekend meals mostly on Saturday mornings, where we have volunteers, and some of our staff drivers are in on Saturday mornings to deliver Saturday morning meals for the weekend. Generally, they're frozen.
Wow.
And
I never even thought about that part of it.
yeah, that piece. And then with partnership with City Meals, which is a support organization, City Meals provides us with emergency food boxes. These have 3 non-perishable meals. Could be not containers of tuna, they're envelopes of tunas with long expiration dates, and maybe powdered milk, various things that are non-perishable. So we provide them 5 times a year for our recipients, just in case a situation arises where we can't deliver. A storm, whatever might interrupt our...
Sure, national emergency, storm, something.
We missed 1 day of delivery after Superstorm Sandy, and people had those boxes, but we got back on the road pretty quickly and were able to find fuel for our trucks. But that was an interruption. Or a a blizzard where we can't get food delivered. People have those. Actually, we're just getting out all of our Thanksgiving fall boxes, and we need to clear them out because we're getting our winter boxes coming in within the next couple of weeks. And we just distribute them, give them to all of our meal recipients, so they have them.
This is amazing. I mean, I really don't think everybody knows the magnitude of planning and how everything just happens. I mean, it's seamless. You make it really easy. I know it's not.
No, our staff makes it easy.
But you know, the way you're discussing it, it's like it's such a well-oiled machine. It just sounds so easy.
Yeah, over time, as things evolve, then of course we evolve with the need and address that. We've outgrown our facility. We outgrew it several years ago, and we've had a plan to build a new Meals on Wheels of Staten Island facility. We've searched. We've requested city funding, city capital grant funding, which has been given to us. And besides our own fundraising to raise money, to join with the city money to build a new facility. We're on our way with that, where there's a couple of things that still need to be confirmed to make that happen. But if things all go well, then hopefully maybe by late spring or summer, we might actually, or sooner. I'm a wishful thinker. I'm just impossible.
Well, I would think you'd have to
at some point to be able to start building that new facility. We've used every square during COVID. In the middle of that, Meals on Wheels America, which is a membership organization, we're a member. They offered. They had a grant program for organizations that might need enhance their facilities. So we got money. We built outside of our building a 20-foot walk-in freezer and a 10-foot walk-in refrigerator to supplement our storage of frozen and cold and refrigeration. We still use that. There's still some space in there, but all of our space inside, we've added freezers, added refrigeration. We had a beautiful boardroom years ago, which is now a walk-in freezer and storage, and where in one corner the chef has a desk. So we've used all of our space. We'll squeeze if we need to some more, but we'll maintain our commitment, and hopefully we'll get that new kitchen built.
It would be nice that if there was somebody who was watching this who happens to be sitting on a lot of empty property who would like a tax deduction would contact you directly.
Well, we have a property. It's just we have to work out some details on that site. We
have two properties.
And I can't. Hopefully that works out. If it doesn't, we'll be searching. But we've relied on. I'll use the baby boomer example. Our average age has been 84. Mm-hmm. The baby boomers. 1946 to 1964, baby boomers will reach our average age in 2030. We've seen our census increase over these years. So we should be peaking, at least for the beginning of the baby boomers. That'll stretch through the 30s into the 40s. And then I love to tell my two millennial daughters that we'll be ready for the millennials in 2060. The millennials are bigger than the baby boomers, but people don't know that. But hopefully, baby boomers won't need it. Maybe things will be different in the 2060s. It would
be nice to think so.
I don't plan to be working in the 2060s, but my gray hair kind of betrays that. But hopefully we're around to help people even at that point in time.
Well, we're going to get into some of the events that you have and everything, but if somebody wanted to find out more about Meals on Wheels, where would they?
We have a great website. We have our social media stuff is handled wonderfully. Our Facebook, our website. You can go on there. You can find out about what we're doing. You can find out about how to volunteer. You can find out how to make a referral if you know somebody who may need Meals on Wheels. We do need to do an assessment.
Is it Meals on Wheels or just Meals on Wheels?
Meals on Wheels of Staten Island.
Of Staten Island. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you'll find Meals on Wheels programs throughout the country based on their name. Sometimes we get calls from other boroughs. Because when you go on, you know that information line is at 411 or whatever. Somebody's asking about, maybe somebody in the Bronx is asking about Meals on Wheels. We'll get the call because, and this is also descriptive of our organization, our history, because all we do is Meals on Wheels. The other boroughs, and God bless them all those programs, those other 20 contracts, they're all on multi-service organizations. So I love to refer to JASA in Brooklyn, great organization, the Jewish Association of Services for the Aged. They have, I think, 3 home-delivered meal contracts. So they have several senior centers. They have senior housing, senior case management, senior elder abuse programs. They have the whole range of senior services. So it's not Meals on Wheels of Brooklyn. And there are other, and like in Queens, Catholic Charities has older adult services, including senior centers, home-delivered meals,
Right.
and they have children's services, mental health. So the rest of the city, all of the boroughs are multi-service agencies. So that's why you don't find Meals on Wheels of Manhattan. It's one of 4 multi-service agencies that include home-delivered meals.
You know what's strange? I know that I'm a Bridge person because I'm from Bay Ridge, and there were so many people who migrated from Brooklyn here, and others who just continued on their way to New Jersey. But we could spend a tremendous amount of time in Staten Island and really not know all of these really unique things that make the island so
Make
special.
it special. Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, listen, I love Brooklyn. It is my home, even though I live here now. I really didn't know to the extent of what Meals on Wheels actually was and how much support and love goes into providing everything.
Yeah.
That it is really just amazing. I want you to tell us more about it, because I'm sure there were some people who were watching who were just like me, who came over the bridge, got busy, had families, went to work, and really have no idea about any of this. They may want to volunteer. They may have a parent who's retired. You heard me talking about retiring before. Who want to stay active.
Yeah.
You have to be in it to win it. And winning is all different ways.
Yeah.
Giving back is a big win-win for everyone.
Yeah. And that's a good example. So certainly volunteering is, of course, donating to what we do is important. I mean, as I mentioned, we maintain this commitment to never have a waiting list, so we serve everyone in need. Again, this year we look at deficits and how we're going to make up a deficit. We have an event that's going on right now. We're calling it Donate and Dine campaign. And this is the 3rd year we're doing this. We used to do a luncheon in October.
I feel like...
It's like this show. We used to do a luncheon, and with COVID in October of 2020, we realized we weren't going to do a luncheon. We came up with a new idea. We enlisted a group of restaurants and food stores, and what we promoted was buy a $75 ticket, a $75 donation to Meals on Wheels, and from that list of restaurants and stores, pick out one, and you'll get a $50 gift card. So in effect, the net is like $25 out of, you're making a $75 donation, but you're getting a $50 gift card to a restaurant or a store that you like and you want to go to. It was great. And we added in a 50-50 online, and we got a whole bunch of raffle prizes that online we drew the winners of all the raffle prizes. So a person can go online, click in Donate and Dine under our events, and see the list of restaurants, pick out 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, however many gift cards you want, and we'll get those gift cards to you. I call it a win-win-win.
Wait, let's stop right there.
Sure.
For the holidays, when somebody gives you a present, you or anybody in your family, do you really want to store anything anymore? No.
No.
Do you really want to figure out how you have to remember where you put it so when the person comes over, you could put it out?
Yes.
No. The best thing to give anybody are event experiences.
Yes.
And to turn around and give somebody a gift card, or gift certificate, whatever it's called, to turn around and go out to eat, and in the process help a really worthy organization, to me, is the best present. My birthday is December 14th. Anybody who shops for me, knows that I don't want to store anything. I only like experiences as well. I think this is a great idea. So for somebody's birthday, for Thanksgiving, for any of the holidays, for New Year's Eve, who would not want to do that?
And we've made it our permanent October event instead of the luncheon. And the luncheon was nice, but this has been great. I've been calling it a win-win-win event. So it's a win to the donor, because they're making a donation, but even though they're making a $75 donation, it's really $25, but they're making that. It's a win for the restaurant and store, because they're giving out a gift card. We're getting a gift card from them.
You have very generous restaurants that participate and partner in this.
Yeah, and most of them, we asked them to donate half of the gift cards back to us, so they're not really paying. We're not really paying for them for all those gift cards. But they know that you come in with a $50 gift card, most customers are going to spend $70, $100, or these days especially, and it's a win for us because it's a fundraiser for us. So it's a win-win-win, and it's been great. So
I know some of the partners that work with you year after year for this, and I'm very strange when it comes to how I spend our money, and I'm very brand loyal. So whether it's a restaurant, whether it's an item, whether it's coffee, I stick to the brands that I like. I honestly, same thing with clothes. If I like that particular, it's like I have everything from that person. Yeah. I have to say though, that when the pandemic hit, I started looking at where the companies that I support, by spending my money with them, where do they put their money? And I became very, very vocal on social media with certain liquor companies, because although it didn't impact me the same way, I am first and foremost, I'm a bartender. I was always a bartender. That is how, I mean, forget News Corp, forget the Guardian Angels, forget New York City Department of Education. It was always about being a bartender. My life is very different. I don't require or need that moment-to-moment paycheck, but bartenders were out of business because everything shut down. Yeah. And companies like Tito's and Aviator Gin and Jameson, they created not scholarships, but funds that all you had to do was send a pay stub, and they would send you money. Oh, great. For unemployed bartenders. Yeah. So I said, how does this, now that the pandemic is over, I'm spreading this across the board. There are restaurants that I love, but I actually don't support anymore because they didn't do anything. And it was prior to the pandemic, and I know everybody hurt during the pandemic. Once things started to, open up a little bit, they changed. The ones that are involved with your program, there's one person in particular, he's got a couple of restaurants, and he is probably one of the nicest, decent human beings in that industry ever, and has given back so much. I absolutely love visiting all of his establishments. I don't want to say because I don't want to make anybody else feel bad but I mean.
But I think I know what you're talking about, and yes, a great support. Yes. And our board committee that plans all this is very mindful of that issue in terms of who we're approaching to add to that list. But it's been great. It's really been a great alternative to the luncheon. It's been successful in terms of fundraising. We get nice participation with online people who take 50-50 and that adds some more to it. It's great to go to a restaurant or a store, and there are 10 gift cards that have been requested, but they're saying we're donating 5 of them. You only pay us for 5, and we're giving you the 10 gift cards. So it's been great. That's been a great event for us.
I also have an idea, though. Yeah. There are so many organizations that ask you for raffle baskets. And I just wanted 2 different groups. I ran out with big baskets. I was so excited. And it's really the art of winning. It's not about, what's in it. But they happened to be restaurant baskets. So how lovely would it be if somebody had to put a basket together for a charity that's coming up where they bought the gift cards through your program and then created the Dine Around gift baskets. Right. Because then it really helps everybody.
Yes, and we've done that in the past. Right, we've done those dining, a piece of board, paperboard, and with all the gift cards on it, and and it is great. And
I have to create a gift basket for my daughter in a event that she's participating in. So I think I'm going to look at your gift cards. I think that would be really pretty to donate, and then it's sort of like paying it forward. Yeah. Paying it forward to this and then paying it forward to the next organization.
And like I said, also the whole concept of gift cards also supports our local restaurants, our local food stores. And they've gone through a rough time too, and many closed. There's many new ones that have opened, and it supports that part of our community. Because we are, a great thing about Staten Island is that, we have almost 500,000 people living here, but yet our identity, you referred to that, how there's an awareness within our community of how we are together, how we can work together to make things better, to make things work better. Just one example, we at Meals on Wheels, where I co-chair our our COAD, the Staten Island Community Organizations Against Disaster, we really came to be after Superstorm Sandy, when the community really wasn't ready how to work together in response to an emergency. And it coalesced then. We started to build. I remember going to some meetings in the beginning of that saying, well, I'm here to talk about food. Where can we help regarding food? Who needs, and I was going to meetings where they were talking about other things. And so it grew into that. And we formed a coalition, a community coalition, and of all the different categories. And then we were more ready for COVID. We were ready to work together. As part of that group, I was able to get supplies, masks, and PPE or hand sanitizer, work out for getting the kitchen clean regularly with these, all that stuff, because we had a community coalition working together for Staten Island.
People think Staten Island is more divided than what it actually is. Staten Island really is more inclusive and together than where I'm from. I mean, I would never find this in Brooklyn. I would never find the cooperation and the collaboration that you guys have here, and that we so live our lives not understanding is going on around us, but once we do, are so grateful that you do this.
You know, as a community service, my whole career has been in community services since I got out of college a few years ago.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just the example you just gave, not at this time, sadly, but we used to have a very active interagency council for aging. All of us as aging service providers used to meet regularly. And back then I used to say, this is before I worked for Meals on Wheels, if I identified somebody working with older adults, somebody who needed Meals on Wheels, home delivered meals, I'd say, here's the phone number, call up Loretta, who was my predecessor, tell Loretta, Joe told you to call, you're inquiring about Meals on Wheels. We were almost like one of each, one of things. Again, not to diminish the other boroughs, but Brooklyn probably had 5 or 6 interagency councils. Not necessarily all communicating with each, they'd cover certain districts. So not the community, we had one for our whole borough. I think that's what makes it work. We can have a singular COAD, Community Organizations Against Disaster, our not-for-profit association, one coalition for the whole borough. And I think that gets duplicated in a lot of, in the arts, I would think, and in children's services and et cetera. You know, we can be more unified, even though we have almost 500,000 people living here. We have that separateness, yet you know, we have that ability to bond and to work together. And the community
it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a unique experience in Staten Island, and I am grateful that I didn't live so obliviously through this whole experience, that I became enlightened to all of the really beautiful, wonderful things that go on here. And I know that I'm going to pay attention more to Meals on Wheels and talk about it more. And I definitely know I'm going to support this.
And we have another event coming up in April, if I can make reference to that.
I would love for you to talk about it.
We, you know, again, the Donate Dine kind of replaced our luncheon. Well, we used to always do a dinner dance in the winter, or like in March, very early spring, March. But our board committee wanted to do something different. And the idea came up about doing something country music, something different. I think a couple of people said, you know, young people are into country music, and maybe that we should look. And of course, we had 3 board members who all had some connection or knowledge of Jessica Rose, who apparently
Staten Island owned.
Staten Islander, who did really well in American Idol, and I think she's making her way up in the country music world.
Jessica Rose is not only a born and bred and educated in Staten Island young person. I don't want to say young lady because it makes it sound like she's she's not a high schooler. But young woman who has never forgotten her roots, gives back so much to Staten Island, is so incredibly talented. I've had the absolute pleasure of having her on several different shows, being involved here at CTV, doing specials, and getting to know her as a person. She is really like all over the place. She's in Nashville all the time, performing. She writes her own music, so she's a songwriter.
Oh, wow.
And not only does she perform individually, but also with a big band. She's in Florida 3 times a year. I think it's in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, at songwriter and festivals and things like that. Any big country music festival, Jessica Rose is there. Jessica, she goes by the name The Real Jessica Rose on social media.
Okay.
Because I'm imagining there's someone else called Jessica Rose, but she is the only one. When you hear Jessica Rose sing, and she sings about West Brighton, Forest Avenue.
Really? Oh, wow.
She never forgets anything. She never forgets that she went to Wagner College, that she went to, Notre Dame, Blessed Sacrament. She talks about all of it. She's so proud to be from Staten Island that we are so proud of her. So I think it's such another win-win for Meals on Wheels.
I can't wait for that. I like to point out that I have 4 pairs of blue jeans that fray on the bottom like blue jeans do, but I don't have cowboy boots. So between now and April, I got to get a nice pair of cowboy boots to wear, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like jeans and boots and line dancing, and we're going to talk about getting maybe barbecue ribs and really country kind of stuff.
Yum.
And I think one of our board members, who is going to try to get hay bales that are very common now, may not be easy to find in April. We're going to get a bunch of hay bales.
He already asked me, and I already told him where. So yeah, he's all good.
And it'll be a really great alternative to our little more formal dinner dances we had, where people wore nice suits and gowns. No, this is going to be a lot of fun, and
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I would like to know if you discuss it with your board, but maybe CTV can come and film that.
Oh, that'd be great, sure. Oh,
so that we can air that.
Wonderful.
And share it with everyone. I mean, so I know that we're not going to talk about the venue because it's still a secret. It's still under wraps, all of that. Yeah. And the exact date is still under wraps, but it's March, right?
April.
April?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you have the date?
Yeah, April 20th. It's a Thursday.
Mark your calendars.
April 20th.
Mark your calendars.
A lot of fun.
And I'm sure Jessica Rose will share it on her social media, The Real Jessica Rose. And I'm sure we will, share it on all of ours. The idea that you guys are going to do something with a band and Jessica Rose is crazy, because I don't know, have you ever heard her?
I went online to try to listen to some of her stuff. That was it. Personally, no, I have not heard.
She is so incredibly talented. I think that you're just going to be floored. Really, really floored.
And so maybe next year or the year after, when they have the Country Music Awards on TV, she'll be one of the people that they highlight.
You know what? I would say right now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're going to enjoy this so much, and she's such a quality person and amazing musician that you may want to lock her in and ask her to do your events every year.
Every year.
Just saying.
Hey, when we did those dinner dances, that's what we would do. We would lock in the following year. So why not?
We have the connection with Jessica Rose with another show called Nothing But the Tea. And it's a group of DJ brothers of mine. They're not technically my brothers, but brothers from another mother. And Jessica Rose has been on that show and performs on that. So I would say all of the fans that are watch Nothing But the Tea with DJ Tito T, MC Benny D, and DJ Vinny T and DJ Retjan should look at buying tickets to go support an excellent organization, to go hear Jessica Rose, because we all know we love her, and all of our Pastels family that's part of my family on the weekends, and everybody who benefits from one of the most beautiful souls, Debbie Lubelli, who is part of the Pastels, Nouveau, Nothing But the Tea family, who does something for every single person that comes in contact. I know right now she's cringing. She is one of the few people that I've actually named a drink for, that I tend not to do that often, but for Debbie, I absolutely did. And she has something called The Debbie. And Jessica Rose is Debbie's niece. So right there, we need to support Meals on Wheels to go see Jessica Rose, so that she knows that her other extended family is in the audience wishing her well. And we're supporting an excellent organization in the process while we cheer Jessica Rose. I cannot believe we only have 8 more minutes left.
If I may, just...
I want you to run the clock out. Tell me everything.
Well, I just want to shout out, and we're talking about fundraising, of course, this event, and that wonderful event that we're looking forward to in April. But I cannot talk about the importance of fundraising without mentioning, again, our community, our local foundations that over the years, the Richmond County Savings Foundation, the Northfield Bank Foundation, the Staten Island Foundation, the TD Foundation has helped us, Investors Bank. They have been supporters over the years. At times when we needed trucks, we could go to them. The Mother Cabrini Foundation has been wonderful. They're statewide, but we've gone to them for money to help support our new building. And we're getting, besides getting a couple of trucks from the Department for the Aging, we're getting 3 new trucks from the Department for the Aging by the end of this month. We're getting 2 more trucks from the Mother Cabrini Foundation. So it's those community foundations that we've been able to go to for help when we need it. Staten Island Foundation helped us with over-serving meals recently, and so they were, last year, they were a great help there. And then the individuals, there's so many people who make donations to Meals on Wheels, so many people who are regular donors. There are people who every month they put us on their list of a regular donation. And also the various groups, they could be family foundations, they could be organizations that every year they're giving us, it could be $1,000 or $5,000.
Nothing is too small and nothing is too big.
Right.
Of course, the, I'm sorry, my allergies are bothering me. Endowments, large-scale donations, that's life-changing for Meals on Wheels. But so even important. Just the smaller ones.
We do a membership drive every fall where donations could come in $10 or $20. So we do a large mailing and a large, so people, and many people do. It could be like what you just referred to. You combine a whole bunch of $10, $20 donations, and all of a sudden you have $2,000. So it all so important to us, and it ties us to the community even more so.
You know, there are so many teenagers, elementary through high school, kids who are involved with student council or involved with pageants and things like that, and they need to run on a platform.
Yeah.
And also, there's community, school communities that turn around and donate. Yeah. It would be nice if we had some of the school communities turn around and become involved, because every kid in elementary school who wants to turn around and do a little fundraiser, whether it's a bake sale, they're basically raising money to give a meal to somebody's nana and someone's poppy, just like the ones who drop them off at school every day.
That's happened, but also around holidays we'll get schools, classes, or scouting groups, maybe Girl Scouts, sending in Valentine's Day things or Christmas things, and we distribute them to recipients in the neighborhood of that school or that
That's
troop.
So nice.
And so they're wonderful, and they're beautiful little things, and they go out, they get delivered to, it's things that you might think are little or not. These little, community, one of the special needs programs, God forgive me, I don't remember I can't know it, but they're part of their program, they made plants, they would put flowers into tuna fish cups with little bouquets, and we would deliver them. And one thing I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It was one Friday. I'm leaving the office, and there was one cup on somebody's desk. I noticed it. A call came in. I'm getting ready to leave the office. A recipient who said she wasn't home to get her meals that day for the weekend. She had no food. I said, fine, I'll drop something off with you, because there's food in the kitchen that's bagged and available. So I went down there, I got a couple of bags of food. Seeing that cup, I took the cup, the little flower cup. It's going to die over the weekend anyway. I went to this frail, little rickety steps on the side of her house, and she opened the door, and I had the food, and I had this cup, tuna fish cup with flowers in it, and I'll never forget her reaction to not the food, the flowers, this little cup of flowers. And I have gotten flowers in 50 years, and it stays. Her face will never leave my memory, and her response. They're little things, but so many times, often we do little things, we don't realize how important those little things are. They're not. Everything that's important, where we show we care, and we're thinking about another person. It's the subtlety of the deliverer who just does that little extra thing. our staff drivers will say how often they bring a garbage can out to the street or bring
Yes,
a garbage
yeah,
can in.
yeah.
They're little things, but they are.
But they're big
They're
moments for someone
of caring.
else.
Somebody
Yeah.
cares and is thinking about me, and sometimes we take for granted all those moments that we have in our lives. Everybody, not just the people we're serving. It's our privilege to serve them. I also have to say there have been many groups recognized as frontline workers throughout and God bless them all. In hospitals and nursing homes and grocery store workers and everybody. Our staff in our kitchen and our drivers, our volunteers, they've been our frontline workers. They've been there the last 2.5 years. They're wonderful people. I'm privileged. I consider myself privileged. When I walk through our kitchen every morning and I say good morning to the kitchen aides and the cooks and what's cooking today, and I'm known for hanging out near where the trays, before it goes into the dishwashing unit, if there's little residue of something in there, I'll taste it. I'll say, great, I enjoy this. This is good today. Our drivers kibitz with them, in terms of their driving, and of course our volunteers. So that's our family, and that's what we're together, working together to serve our community and our neighbors who have.
Nobody could ask more of you. You've really dedicated your life to service, and you're very selfless and humble. And don't get upset. I can see it in your face, but you're a very kind soul. And everything that was said about you by your contemporaries and peers, I thought was remarkable. And I'm like, oh, he can't be that great. But I could see that they could not scratch the surface of what a deep person that you are, and what a commitment you've made to, humanity.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's
no, seriously.
Nice, but look,
because it's not. I mean, listen, helping one person's amazing, but helping 1,200 people every day.
Look, I like to say I had a driver once who said he was leaving, he had another job, and he said, "Joe, us drivers, we're the most important people." I said, "You know what? You're right. You drivers, you guys are the most important people here." But you know who else is the most important? We couldn't deliver enough for you guys, but the kitchen staff. Without them, we couldn't prepare all this food, get it all. They're the most important people.
It's a team. Without
And the
each other.
volunteers, they're the most important.
Yeah.
And our office staff who are on the phone nonstops with everybody, they're the most important people. All of you working together makes all of this work. And so I consider my privilege to work. And I'm not just saying that to sound like whatever.
You have a very good board of directors, though.
The board of directors. Oh, thank you for making that. Board of directors.
You have a very good board of directors.
Great board, led by Mark Russo.
What an amazing person. He's truly a good soul.
They're so supportive, and they're out there serving us in the community as the best they can in various ways. And they've been great. We get transition because board members serve a certain number of years, sure. And then they have to sit down. And so we have 2 new people who came on this year. So that transition happens, and they're great. So we've got a wonderful board.
But I don't think, even if they step down because of time limits or whatever, I don't think this will ever leave them. I think you have to be changed fundamentally as a person and leave saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe what we've accomplished as a team.
Yeah, and that experience, you're right. And they serve 6 years. They need to sit down for a year. And more often than not, after that year, they want to come back on the active board. Some of them stay active during that year. So it's not like not being off the board at all.
Well, listen,
they're wonderful.
I think we could talk for hours. I want you to come back before the event. Thank you so much
for having
a month before the event.
Okay.
And we're going to pump that event, and we're going to talk about Jessica Rose and everybody else and everything else. And I thank you so much for joining me here. And I hope you had a good time with my family here at CTV.
And I thank you. You do this program, you're interviewing people, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much for joining.